This is One on One. There he is, one of my favorite guests here on One on One, Marty Appel, author of Pinstripe Empire and the president of Marty Appel Public Relations. Pinstripe Empire, the New York Yankees, from before the babe to after the boss. Good to see you, Marty.
Thanks, Steve. Good to be with you.
You were with us a few years back. What was that book we were talking about?
That was a Thurman Munson biography called Munson.
Yeah. By the way, let's talk about this book and also your connection to the Yankees officially. You did some public relations for them for a few years?
I did. I was their PR director, then I was their television producer. I had a span of about 20 years directly associated with the team.
Now, given all the books that have been written about the Yankees, what makes Pinstripe Empire different?
It surprised me as a fan and as a student of history that there hadn't been a complete history of the Yankees in almost 70 years. A journalist named Frank Graham did a book in 1943 on the history, and a lot has happened since then.
Sure.
So I saw a void, and I love history, and I love research, and it was just a great project for me to take on.
You know, we're doing this program toward the end of 2012. We'll repeat it. For those of you who know one-on-one, some of our best shows we put into a cycle and repeat them. So hopefully things will change over time. But right now, as we do this program, the Yankee brand has taken a bit of a hit, let's just say, given the way the Yankees went out against the Detroit Tigers in the American League Championship Series. As part of the history, because it's a long history, all the championships, you know, Babe and my favorite, Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and et cetera, Lou Gehrig and everyone else, Yogi Berra. How much does what has just happened impact the larger history of the New York Yankees, or is it just a blip?
It's more important in the immediate weeks after the event. But you know, a year ago, they went out in the first round against Detroit. And by spring training, that sort of had become a distant memory, and it wasn't like we've got something to prove this year. Because by and large, this is a team that's always going to give you more satisfaction than not. And if it's not there at the finish line, getting to the Final Four is a pretty good achievement. So you take your knocks, and the highest payroll doesn't always win out, but the brand is solid, and you know, Yankee fans will continue to love the ball club.
You hooked up with the Yankees. You were 19?
Yes.
You were reading fan mail for Mickey Mantle?
I was hired to answer Mickey Mantle's fan mail. He'd gotten about 2 years behind on taking care of it.
Marty, get out of here.
Oh, can I have that hair back?
Marty, you and the Mick.
Me and the Mick. He was only 36 at the time the picture was taken. And
wow.
That was my first job, was answering his fan mail, because Bob Fischel, who hired me, the Yankees PR man at the time, he knew that every unanswered letter was a potential Mets fan. So he was very conscientious about getting somebody in to take care of that.
Some of the highlights of this terrific book, Pinstripe Empire, talk about them. Why should people go out and get the book?
Well, you discover a lot that's kind of been forgotten to history. To me, the importance of the first great owner of the team, Jacob Ruppert, comes out in this book.
Colonel Ruppert.
Colonel Ruppert. It was an honorary title, but he was a brewer, Ruppert Beer, on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And all he did was buy Babe Ruth, build Yankee Stadium, and create this dynasty, which is still going on today. So whereas George Steinbrenner used to say that buying the Yankees was like buying the Mona Lisa, this was Leonardo da Vinci when it came to the Yankees. He really created them as we love them today.
So knowing Colonel Ruppert and the impact he had is important here. Now, I think, as I said, because of the Mickey Mantle piece of this and reading everything about the Mick that I think I can get my hands on, I remember we had Jane Levy. Jane Levy here, right? She's one of the greatest books written, but then 10 other books I've read. Is there anything in here about the Mick that we might not know of?
I think it's important to know what a great teammate he was, and when he came on the scene, Joe DiMaggio didn't treat him very well. There was a generation gap there, and it was also the culture of baseball that you didn't embrace the new guys because they were taking the job of one of your former teammates. Mickey kind of, without intellectualizing it, but he changed all that. He remembered how he was treated, not only by Joe, but the other veteran Yankees, And he would be great to anybody new coming in, whether they were destined for stardom or not. Mickey always made sure they were included in dinner plans. He always made a big deal about their first hit. He was just great to everybody who joined him as a teammate.
The biggest takeaway in the book about George Steinbrenner
is that he put his profits back into the team. He knew from day one that New York likes big stars, and he always went out and got them. And yeah, he was a difficult guy to work for, but he had a high-profile celebrity organization under him. There are a lot of tough guys to work for that you never hear about, so that kind of was overemphasized because of the high profile of the Yankees. But he cared about the fans. He made sure Yankee Stadium was always maintained well and clean, and that the product was going to be entertaining and competitive.
As we move from, as a few years ago when the Yankees moved from the old Yankee Stadium to the new Yankee Stadium, how much impact has the new stadium had on the history of the Yankees, particularly given the prices of the seats and the, let's just call it the quote-unquote corporate nature of the stadium? And I love the stadium, but put it this way, those seats are not, many of them, for average fans.
Well, the stadium opened in 2009, and of course we had this economic crash in the fall of 2008.
Bad timing.
It was very bad timing. Nobody saw that coming, and so it heightened the drama of the increase to the seats. The most important thing that was accomplished with the new stadium is that you go there and you still feel the magnificence of it, that it's still Yankee Stadium.
Sure is.
And so that history did easily transfer across the street.
Okay, a couple of Yankees real quick now. A-Rod, as we do this program, still a Yankee. Derek Jeter. Do we need to keep talking about them together, or are they two totally separate people?
Well, they're separate people. In A-Rod's case, he sort of got the brunt of the fans' ire over the hitting shutdown in the World Series, in the League Championship Series. But we have to remember he's getting older too. Athletes slow down. And if we're subject to witnessing that, we've got to cut him a little slack. He works hard. His body language may not always be the sort that tells you he cares about the declining production.
It's not good to try to pick up women during the game when you are losing and on the bench.
If the Yankees were winning and if he was hitting 400, it would have been just a little smile.
Now,
and
you're an expert at PR.
Okay.
Would not advise them accordingly.
I'm saying this, if you saw Bull Durham, you know this goes on.
Yeah, but it does not go on. And with all the tweeting and never mind. Derek Jeter.
Not a good thing when you're losing and not hitting.
Okay, why is Jeter still golden?
He has played in this town for 18 years under this intense microscope and never does anything wrong, never says anything wrong. He is such a role model to say, this is how you do it. And he's just carried on that Ruth Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle, Mercer, Munson, Jackson, Mattingly tradition as nobody else could have done it.
The name of the book is Pinstripe Empire, the New York Yankees from before the Babe to after the Boss. And by the way, the Munson book you did was just fabulous. Marty Appel knows the Yankees better than anyone. The foreword by Yogi Berra, preface
Bernie Williams.
Bernie Williams.
Well,
by the way, he's a great jazz guitarist as well. By the way, pictures in here are fabulous as well. Do yourself a favor, go out and get the book. Before I let you out of here, you're going to have to sign a book for me and for our president here at WNET, Neil Shapiro, who's a rabid Yankee fan.
No.
He's not in mourning anymore because he's hopeful about the next season. Is that what we do? Is that we're hopeful about the next season no matter what?
That's why it's beautiful that it just carries over, and we'll get them next time.
So you're convinced no matter what has happened in this past season, this show will repeat. So hopefully next time you see it in repeats, hey, the Yankees are on top again. Every reason to be hopeful that the Yankees will stay on top as a brand and as a team.
It's important for them to always have top talent because their TV ratings depend so much on it, the attendance depends so much on it. They're never going to become mediocre for any length of time.
And you're never mediocre.
Thank you,
Marty. Great guest. Appreciate it, buddy. That was fun.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Medical Center, Berkeley College, TD Bank, QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. The law firm of Gibbons PC. And by Verizon Communications. Promotional support provided by the Star Ledger and NJ.com, Everything Jersey. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and its monthly magazine, New Jersey Business. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.